they were going to accept the principle of restriction. In other words, they were going to go out. They were going to go out from the bondage of the desire to receive for oneself alone, but wish to become a nation of free choice. Because desire to receive for oneself alone, as we know, is embedded at the time of birth. This is robotic consciousness. Everybody naturally is born with an instinct of self-preservation. It is not something you have to learn, not something you have to acquire, but it is something we are born with. Then what is the purpose of all peoples being on earth if all it is to be born with a desire to receive for oneself alone as self-preservation and no other purpose? That we are robots. Was that the purpose? To be born, to be robots and die. Along came Passover, and for the first time, a nation is going to represent the purpose of why we were created in the first place. And that is not to be robots. And the only way we can demonstrate an aspect of free will was the act of restriction. The act of restriction is the only prerogative that mankind, all of mankind, has in demonstrating his free will. Because if he just moves along the path of least resistance and moves with the tide, moves with the way things are going, without restriction, because it is only restriction that requires an effort. Nothing else requires an effort. To go into a store and buy bread and preserve yourself with food and so forth doesn't require effort. It is a normal, instinctive part of our life's procedure. It is only when suddenly we have a need, and at that moment we say, wait a second. While that need is very pressing, but what is my purpose here? To demonstrate that I am not part of robotic consciousness. In other words, if suddenly my clothes tear, it is a natural instinct for me to go out and buy clothing. That is not a decision I have made. It is a decision that has been thrust upon me. And then even the clothes I wear are designer's clothes. Even the decision what kind of clothes I'm going to wear is not even my own decision. So if we look around us, by and large, in 99% of our activity, we live in the pyramidical robot type of consciousness. Self-preservation, whatever is necessary, we do it as a robot. But for the moment that we can enact and we can instill an act of restriction, that requires free will. How many of us escape the traumas of a business, the traumas of illness, the traumas of family life? How many escape from all of it? If we were in total control, then why can't we control all of our problems if we're really in total control? So it is only an imbecile that does not stop for a moment to take account of himself and say, how much of my life is really under my control? When there is total darkness, meaning there is total robotic consciousness, which also means the totality of the desire to receive for oneself alone, there is no free will, and everything is governed by the cosmos. 1 month is good, 1 month is bad, and one day is good, one day is bad. So we have our ups and downs. We think these ups and downs are the makings and doings of our own activity, and that is a total mistake. Because if everyone sat down and decided to take a log, I'm not talking about someone who has achieved the level of consciousness to understand that restriction becomes the major part of his life. But for the most part, if everyone would take a log, they would see that the same things happen on the same dates of the week. They would see that the same things happen the same months of the year as every other months of every year, succeeding year, and preceding year, and etc. To indicate to us beyond any shadow of a doubt that what we believe is free will, what we believe is a freedom of consciousness, is a total illusion and fabrication. This is what the night of Passover is about. To connect and to make an association and to become again an individual that could begin to control our lives and everything around us. The sages and the Torah brought us not a tradition, not a new mitzvah, as if we didn't have enough. Shouldn't we, like a July 4th, celebrate the Declaration of Independence? Right? After all, if our forefathers hadn't fought for the freedom, we wouldn't have it. Had they not gone out of Egypt, we might still be slaves in Egypt. That is not the reason. The reason, because our celebration of July 4th does not, I believe, in any way enhance our consciousness, enhance our health, enhance our environment, enhance my position in society, gives me more wealth, gives me more happiness, gives me more everything else. July 4th, nobody claims does that. And anyone celebrating Passover for that reason, I would like one individual throughout this world to stand up and say, I did the tradition, and now I feel a complete transformation. Nobody. What was the difference? The only thing is we're saying, thank you, God, for releasing our forefathers from bondage. Therefore, I'm no longer a slave. But the next day, he's back into slavery, into that robotic state of consciousness, no control over his life, etc., etc.